Good morning, everyone. My name is Linda Fries. I'm the benefits manager for PEBB, and we are going to start here in just a minute. We're going to give time for people to kind of enter the meeting, but we're here today to talk about flexible spending accounts and commuter accounts. So we'll be silent here probably for the next minute while people enter in, and then we will start the webinar. Well, good morning, everyone. It looks like we have the majority of people that are going to join us this morning. My name is Linda Fries, and I'm the benefits manager for PEBB. I also have Forrest and Sarah here from communications, and Tammy and Rhonda as part of our member services team here to answer questions. We're going to talk about flexible spending accounts today. And commuter accounts. So Sarah, next slide. A little bit of webinar tips. You can type questions in under the question area at any time during the webinar, and one of us will get back to you with an answer. These questions and the answers are private, so the rest of the people that are on the meeting will not see it. There is closed captioning. Will be available next week in the YouTube recording. You will receive a follow-up email when the recording is available. So a lot of people ask the question, I have to leave the recording or the webinar early. Am I going to be able to see this? Yes, you will be sent a link to the recording. And we're also going to have this on our pebinfo.com website posted in the next couple of days so that you can come back and watch just certain parts of it or the whole thing if you want. Okay, Sarah, next slide. So flexible spending accounts or FSAs, what is an FSA? Number one, and probably most important, is FSAs are regulated by the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS. It's not a lot of PEBB rules and things that regulate the FSAs, it's the IRS that does. It's an annual account that you can put money back pre-tax for eligible expenses. You must enroll or re-enroll every year during open enrollment for a dependent care or a healthcare FSA. The enrollment does not carry over from one year to the other. You make these pre-tax contributions through your monthly payroll deductions. It pays for the current year's eligible expenses. So it pays for the eligible expenses in the months that you made the contributions. These funds are use it or lose it. So if you don't use the full amount of money that's in your dependent care or healthcare FSA account at the end of the plan year, you will lose that money. It does not get reimbursed to you. Okay, next slide. IRS rules, you have to enroll annually. The election lasts the whole plan year unless you have a qualified status change. So a lot of people are asking, this year's a passive open enrollment. And I currently have a healthcare FSA. Do I need to get in and do open enrollment if I want that healthcare FSA for 2025? And the answer is yes. You have to get in every year if you want a dependent care or a healthcare FSA, and you have to re-enroll. If you decide in the middle of 2025 that you don't want that FSA any longer, you have to have a qualified status change that allows you to terminate that FSA, something like a marriage or a birth. So you can't just decide that you're going to enroll in an FSA and have this money held out of your paycheck pre-tax, and then decide in March of next year, you know, I'm not going to have that surgical procedure that I thought that I was going to have, so I want to cancel that FSA. You can't do that. You have to have a qualified status change in order to update that FSA. You don't have to have other PEBB health insurance, so medical, dental, and vision, in order to enroll in a PEBB healthcare or dependent care FSA. You can access the full healthcare funds at any time during the year. So when you say that you are going to contribute $2,000 to a healthcare FSA for 2025, that $2,000 is available to you during the month of January to use. So that money is available upfront for you. Again, unused funds are forfeited if they're not used within the year. So again, it's a use it or lose it. Expenses can be for a spouse and eligible dependent children, but you cannot use the expenses for domestic partners for the healthcare FSA. And we do have a grace period on the healthcare FSA for 2.5 months until March the 15th. If you contribute and make contributions through the month of December. Okay, next slide. So flexible spending accounts, how the FSA works. So 4 really simple steps. You're going to estimate your expenses for the upcoming plan year. When you estimate your expenses, I want you to be really conservative. Look at, okay, how much do I pay out each month for prescriptions? You know, I'm pregnant this year, so I know I'm going to be having a baby next year. That's really going to happen. So I will have that medical expense. So, but be very conservative when you are estimating your expenses for the upcoming plan year. You'll go in and do your open enrollment and say that you want to contribute a monthly amount. So you'll make these pre-tax contributions via your paycheck throughout the year. You incur eligible expenses, you submit your claims to ASI Flex by the deadline, and you get reimbursed. I did a healthcare FSA this year, and as my eligible expenses or my bills were coming in from my provider, I just would get onto the ASI Flex, actually their mobile app, and upload a lot of this, and within a week and a half or so, I had the checks back in order to pay those bills. So it was really very, very simple for me. Tammy, Rhonda, any questions coming in right
now? Questions on qualifying events, what qualifies, making mid-year changes.
Okay. All right. All right, next slide, Sarah. So we offer 2 types of FSAs. We offer a healthcare FSA and a dependent care FSA. A lot of PEBB members get these 2 confused. So I want to go over the differences between the healthcare and the dependent care. The healthcare FSA covers eligible medical, dental, and vision expenses for you and your eligible dependents. It does not cover domestic partners. It includes deductibles, co-pays, office visits, tests, supplies. There's a full list of eligible expenses at the IRS site, and also ASI Flex. On their website, they show a lot of what is eligible and things that also are not eligible. Dependent care FSA, it covers dependent care expenses like daycare, child care for your children up to age 13. Dependent care FSA does not cover any health care expenses whatsoever, so please do not get them mixed up. Health care is for your health care coverage for you and your family. Dependent care is for child care coverage for your children up to age 13. Occasionally it will cover dependent care for elderly people. If you have elderly family that requires some care. So you can also look for a list of eligible expenses at the IRS site or also on the ASI Flex site. Okay, Sarah, next slide. Annual enrollment. If you want an FSA for January through December of 2025, you must get in and do open enrollment this month. Open enrollment is not passive for you, it is mandatory for you. If you fail to do open enrollment during the month of October and you decide at a later date that you want to add a flexible spending account, you will not be able to do so during the correction period. You would only be able to do so if you had a qualified status change that allowed you to add one during the plan year of 2025. So again, if you want an FSA for 2025, dependent care or health care, you must do open enrollment this year or this month. If you fail to do open enrollment this month, you will not qualify for a flexible spending account for 2025 unless you have a qualified status change that would allow you to enroll in an FSA for 2025. Okay. The healthcare FSA annual maximum for 2025 is going to be $3,200 per subscriber. Again, it's a use it or lose it. So please plan very conservatively how much you want to contribute to the healthcare FSA. Make sure that those expenses are going to be predictable. Look at this past year. What kind of expenses did you have for this year? Was this year, uncommon or a pretty common year? Always be conservative when you are planning your elections. And you can use the FSA store, the asiflex.com site helps you with some estimators there. But I really find the best estimator is what am I currently spending on healthcare right now? Do I have to go in and have certain tests every year so that I know that I'm automatically going to hit my deductible, and that this test usually costs maybe $2,000, so I'm going to always meet my deductible and have another $200 or something out of pocket? Look at your past experience to tell you what's going to happen for your future. And then you also have, for the healthcare FSA, you have a 2.5 month grace period. So as long as you contribute through December of 2025, you'll have until March 15th to incur other expenses on that healthcare FSA to help you use up unused dollars. All right. Eligible expenses. Obviously, your prescription and office visit copays, deductibles, x-rays, labs, hospital visits, mileage to and from healthcare providers, over-the-counter things like Band-Aids, sunscreen, braces, first aid supplies, pill holders, all that type of stuff. Vitamins, not so much unless your doctor prescribes supplements for you. So you can't just use it to buy vitamins. So I want you to keep that in mind. Vision exams, eyeglasses, prescription sunglasses, contact lenses, reading glasses, LASIK surgery, dental exams, x-rays, fillings, orthodontia, crowns, bridges, implants, And hearing exams, hearing aids, and hearing aid batteries, all of these feed into your healthcare FSA. All right. Ineligible expenses. Services not provided yet, so pre-treatment estimates. So if you go to the dentist and they give you a pre-treatment estimate for braces, you can't get that money reimbursed because it hasn't happened yet. Cosmetic treatments or medications, illegal operations, expenses paid by insurance, diapers, maternity clothes, insurance premiums, dancing, swimming lessons, holistic treatments, natural remedies, vitamins, warranties. So there's a whole list of eligible FSA items and also ineligible items at the ASI Flex site. With the dependent care FSA, the annual maximum is $5,000 per family. So $2,500 if married and filing separate income tax returns. So $5,000 per family. So let's just say that you are married and you share a child together. One of you can have $5,000 withheld, or each of you can have $2,500 withheld, but you each cannot withhold $5,000. So $5,000 maximum for the family. Again, this is use it or lose it. The money does not roll over to the next plan year. Okay, Sarah. Dependent care FSA eligible expenses. So babysitting while you work, not babysitting while you're out on a date, but babysitting while you work. Preschool or nursery school for young children, before or after school care, day camps. It's for children under the age of 13. It's for child ages 13 plus if they're not capable of self-care. So again, there's a huge difference between the healthcare FSA and the dependent care FSA. So when you're in our system and you're choosing the FSA that you want, make sure that you are looking at this a couple of times and you're enrolling in the correct FSA. Tammy, Rhonda, any questions so far?
Linda, a lot of questions in regards to members enrolling in an FSA and if their family would need to be included on their medical, coverage or listed as dependents for using it. Questions on debit cards.
Okay. Do you want to answer any of those, Tammy? You want to talk a little bit about debit cards?
Sure. So for ASI, for your debit card, they're not automatically issued directly from ASI. If you do want a debit card, you have to actually request one, and it can be submitted for both the member and or a spouse or partner, so you can get up to 2 cards. But any of those, even if you have your debit card and you swipe it for claims, you still have to submit itemized detailed receipts showing what those swipes were for to make sure ASI is meeting the eligibility of those claims. And then the FSA is for the member and family. The family does not need to be enrolled, but it is for yourself and your family member, spouse and or children.
All right, thanks, Tammy. And somebody just said, do I have to be enrolled in a PEBB medical plan to enroll in the FSA? No, you don't have to be in the medical, dental, and vision plans offered by PEBB to pick up the healthcare or dependent care FSA. All right, dependent care FSA ineligible expenses. And this is just a short list. This isn't a thorough list. Obviously, services not yet provided, educational or tuition expenses, kindergarten or higher education costs, overnight camp expenses, services during vacation, holidays, or leave of absence. Only custodial parent expenses are eligible in the divorce situation. expenses exceeding $5,000 per family per calendar year. So one of these bullets, services during vacations, holidays, or leave of absence. So if you go on a leave of absence, so you're out due to surgery or something sometime during 2025, you want to make sure that your payroll department has stopped your FSA, because you're not eligible to make contributions to a dependent care FSA during your leave of absence, because you're home. So you should be home caring for your child during that time. But when you come back from that leave of absence, you want to make sure that that gets reinstated if you want it. Now, on the other hand, let me talk a little bit about the healthcare FSA. A lot of people go out on a leave of absence and they're given the choice to continue the healthcare FSA, and you have to make monthly payments for that healthcare FSA while you're out on leave of absence. I think some payrolls allow you to prepay it, or you can stop it. If you stop your healthcare FSA during a leave of absence, a lot of people that are out on a leave of absence, it's because of a medical reason and you're incurring medical expenses. But if you stop your healthcare FSA during these months, this month or this 2 month, then you cannot turn in claims for the months that you did not make contributions. So I hope that that makes sense to people. So if you go out on leave on March 1st, and you don't come back until May 1st, and you incur $2,000 worth of medical expense claims during March and April, and you did not make any contributions to your healthcare FSA during that time, you will not be able to turn in claims for March and April. So you want to make sure that you're making payments into that healthcare FSA while you're out during those months, so that you can also turn in claims to get reimbursed for those claims during those months. So I hope that that makes some sense. Okay, Sarah, next slide. Dependent care FSA helpful tips. Start a dependent care FSA when you're ready to begin child care, not at birth or during open enrollment. So let me talk about this bullet. We have a lot of people that you're going through open enrollment right now, and baby is due January 5th. So you're like, great, I'm going to start a dependent care FSA. It's going to start January 1st. Baby's being born in January. Baby's not going to daycare in January. And a lot can happen. Baby might be born in January, and you might decide at that time, I'm not going back to work. I'm going to stay home with the baby now. Or I'm going to work part-time, so I'm not going to need as much daycare expense as what I thought I would need. Or heaven forbid, the baby is a high risk and needs more time at home with mom and dad or in the hospital. So don't set up the dependent care FSA until you're really going to need it. So if you have a baby in January and you're like, okay, I'm going to be home with the baby for January and February, and I'm going to start to put the baby in daycare March 1st, then you can get a hold of us in February and say, I want to start a dependent care FSA effective March 1st because baby's going to go to daycare in March. So please, just make sure we don't want to see you put money into funds that you don't use. We want to make sure that you're only doing it when you're going to use the funds. Notify PEBB within 30 days if your child care situation changes to adjust the FSA contributions. If let's say that you start out the plan, you're working full time, and so baby's in daycare full time, but then in June you decide to work part time, maybe let us know in May or June. You've got a 30-day window to let us know. I'm going to start to work part-time, so childcare is going to decrease. So I need to lower my dependent care FSA. You have 30 days to let us know that. If you wait beyond the 30 days, then chances are we aren't going to allow you to lower your dependent care FSA. So make sure that you stay very timely with notifying us about changes and your need for increasing or decreasing your FSA amount. Submit the claims promptly to avoid losing funds. I am one of those people that I submitted my healthcare FSA claims all throughout the year, and I have just about used up my FSA. I can, I think, confidently say I'm not going to lose any funds. But we do have some people that wait until the very last minute to turn in their claims. And sometimes they forget, sometimes an emergency comes up and they don't get those claims turned in and they lose the funds. So make sure that you are staying on top of your bills that are coming in and getting those turned into ASI Flex so that you can get reimbursed for your expenses. So, and just another friendly reminder, dependent care FSAs cannot be used for healthcare expenses for your dependents. And I see a question coming in, you know, yes, you can make adjustments to your dependent care FSA as your daycare needs change throughout the plan year. And we will ask for documentation about how those daycare needs are changing. Maybe you're switching daycare providers or the daycare is increasing their rates. But for the healthcare FSA, you cannot adjust that as your healthcare needs change during the plan year. We've often had people come up to us and say, well, when I did open enrollment, I wasn't pregnant, so I didn't know that I was going to have a baby. And now that I know that I'm going to have a baby, isn't that a qualifying event to add a healthcare FSA for the plan year? No, it is not. So dependent care, we can adjust that as your bills change. The healthcare FSA, no, you have to kind of estimate right now what you think your expenses are going to be for 2025. And that's what you go with for the plan year. You can't lower it because you've decided not to have a procedure, or you can't increase it because something else has come up in your life. All right. Flexible spending accounts, important dates. So claims must be incurred before, so this is with your healthcare FSA. Claims must be incurred between January 1st and March 15th of the following year. You've got 14 and a half months, or during your coverage period. So you only have that 14 and a half months if you've contributed January or all the way through December of that year. Incurred means the service was received or the product was secured regardless of the payment timing. The claims submission deadline for both dependent care and healthcare FSAs is always March 31st at midnight. So you can get onto the ASI Flex website or their mobile app, and you have until midnight on March the 31st to get all of your claims submitted. Submit early to avoid missing the deadline. If you can imagine, there are a lot of people that procrastinate and they wait until 11 o'clock on March the 31st, 11 p.m. March the 31st to start submitting their claims, and the website site gets very, very just heavily trafficked.
Linda, your audio is breaking up a little bit. It's getting kind of.
It has a lot of traffic, and sometimes it doesn't work correctly. So I'm just really going to tell people, don't wait. Get your claims submitted timely so that you don't have to worry about the website going down or you got it and have an emergency that night and you forget about it. You have is cutting out. Any better? I'm gonna try to switch.
Yeah, if you could maybe try, it's cutting out and also going really slow and then catching back up.
Okay, is this any better? I just switched over to a different connection.
Yes, that's much better.
Okay, excellent. Okay, sorry about that. So let's
I am not able to hear Linda. Is anyone else hearing Linda?
Hi, Sarah. Yeah, her audio cut out for me as well.
Okay. Let's see, we can give her, looks like she might be checking her connection. I saw it just dropped off. We'll give it just a second to see if she can get back connected. Apologies, everyone. Well, let's see if we can continue on with the presentation. I can cover some slides until Linda can maybe get a better connection.
And I can
So
help Sarah too if you need to.
Oh, Tammy, that would be great. I will continue to run the slides and you can go through the next ones until Linda might get back on.
Okay, I can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and start right where we're at with the slides on the flexible spending for the FSAs. So we do the claims that are incurred for the grace period for 2024 funds. You do have a grace period from January 1 through March 15th of 2025. So what that means is you can use those funds for any claims you incur between those dates. The important thing to remember is all receipts must be date stamped received at ASI no later than March 31st of 2025, or you would forfeit any of those remaining funds. So for both dependent care FSA and your healthcare FSA, all claims for 2024 must be submitted and to ASI no later than March 31st. If you miss that deadline, you will forfeit those funds. Go ahead and next slide, Sarah. So we're going to start with the commuter benefits. Commuter benefits are also IRS regulated, but the commuter funds, which is for your commuter parking and your commuter transportation, with those is the only accounts you can enroll, increase, decrease, cancel at any time. So any change that you make are done prospective of when your agency payroll receives your forms. Those funds are also pre-tax contributions through your payroll deductions, and they pay for your current month's commuting expenses. You submit claims for parking and transportation incurred during your coverage period. Reimbursements are capped also by the IRS monthly limits. And once you term a parking or a commuter account, the time clock starts ticking. You have 6 months to submit claims, or you do forfeit any remaining funds that are left once it's termed. You can open it back up within that 6 months, but if it goes past there, again, you forfeit any remaining funds. So if you are enrolled currently in a commuter account for 24 for parking or transportation, you have to have all your receipts submitted to ASI before the March 31st deadline. If you miss that deadline, where on the FSAs you forfeit the funds, those funds stay in the account, but you would not get reimbursed for any of your parking or transportation expenses that you incurred during the year of 2024. So we have two types of commuter accounts. One is parking and one is transit. Parking reimbursement accounts pays for your parking at your place of employment, parking at a location from which you commute to work. Give me 1 second, people. I think Linda's going to be joining us back.
Tammy, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, hopefully I'll stay on. Thank you for taking over.
You're welcome. I'm going to let you take over from here. Thank you, Linda.
Okay, so you have two types of commuter benefit accounts. You have parking and transit or transportation. The parking reimbursement account pays for parking at your place of employment or parking at a location where you commute to work. If you're parking in a state-owned lot or garage and that parking is coming out through pre-tax payroll deductions, then you don't qualify for the parking transit account. So you can't, have pre-tax deductions coming out of your paycheck and then also have a pre-tax parking contribution coming out. When we worked in downtown Salem, a lot of us would park over at the Lee Apartments. That wasn't a state-owned lot. And so we would have parking coming out with the parking commuter account, and you would be able to use that to reimburse for your parking account. So state-owned lots, remember that the parking costs are deducted pre-tax from your paycheck by the state. You wouldn't do an ASI Flex commuter account. The non-state-owned lots, you can set aside an amount pre-tax and you can use it to reimburse for those parking accounts. And like Tammy said, you have to have all of your 2025 expenses for parking or transportation. You will have to submit those by March 31st of 2026. You won't lose the money, but you won't be able to turn in all those expenses after March 31st of 2026 for 2025. So you can turn them in every month if you want so that you're on top of it, or you can wait and hold them, but March 31st is the absolute deadline for that. Okay, Sarah, next slide. Transit and van pool reimbursement account, you can also set aside pre-tax amount for commuting expenses. Bus, rail, ferry, van pool expenses that you incur commuting to and from work. Bicycles are not included. But we do have a lot of people sometimes that van pool in because they come in from out of town. And so you can use the transportation account for that fund. A lot of people have asked in the past, can I use it for fuel and bicycle repairs and maintenance to my vehicle? And unfortunately, the answer to that is no, you cannot. So just want to make sure that you understand you can't use it to do auto repairs, to fill up your tank, for headlamps for a bicycle or rain gear. Unfortunately, it's not covered for those types of things. Okay, next or next slide. 350 maximum per month for the parking or the transportation. So again, it's for non-state owned parking lots, for parking meter expenses near your place of employment, the parking garage expenses, and parking at a place for maybe you commute. So maybe you park somewhere and then you take a bus into work. So it will cover those types of expenses. All right, next slide. The transit van pool, again, that's also a maximum of $315 per month. You can use it for train, bus, subway, ferry, streetcar, and van pool. And again, $315 is the max. We do have some people that just put in $25 a month or $50 a month. So it's totally up to you. Okay, next slide. Ineligible expenses. So non-work related parking or transit costs. Parking at state-owned lots already deducted pre-tax from your paycheck. Bicycles or repairs, rideshare like Uber or Lyft, and gas, fuel, or vehicle repairs. Okay, Tammy, Rhonda, do we have any questions coming in that should be addressed? Tammy, did you talk about the 6 months? If they don't use it, they lose it?
Briefly, yes.
Okay, so just to reiterate that, once you stop the parking or the transportation account, you have 6 months to turn in your claims. At the end of those 6 months, any money that's in that account is forfeited. So you would lose it. So once you stop the account, if you get in this open enrollment and you stop your parking account, you will have from January through June to get claims turned in, or else effective July 1st, you would lose all the money in that account. And one thing that I said, sometimes people just put $25 a month, and sometimes people will lower the amount to $25 a month just to keep that account active, because they know they're going to be gone for 3 or 4 months. So they keep that account active, and then they come back and they can increase it a little bit higher. But they just don't want that 6-month clock to start ticking, and they don't want to lose that money in the account. Okay. So the IRS requires proof with claims. You're going to have to certify that the expenses are eligible and not reimbursed elsewhere. You may have to provide third-party documentation like metered street parking, and you'll have to submit a claim form. Often ASI Flex will have you just verify that you paid the meter, and they'll have you sign a documentation that verifies the amount that you've paid for street parking or whatever, and that it was due to being work related. Okay, next slide. Important deadlines, and I heard Tammy say this, claims are due by March 31st. So if you're currently contributing to a transportation or a parking commuter account right now for 2024, you will have until March the 31st to get all the claims in for plan year 2024. If you make contributions through 2025, you'll have until March 31st, 2026 to turn in claims for 2025. Inactive accounts, so they're inactive for 180 days through 6 months, are terminated, and the balances are forfeited. So you don't want to lose that money. University members only. When enrolling online, make sure that you select the correct number of contributions, the months that you'll be making contributions, and then the months without contribution, because some of our university members don't get a paycheck every month. And Tammy is fantastic with reconciling with your employer to make sure that you selected correctly. But when you make errors on the months that you get paid or that you don't get paid, then some
Okay, Sarah, I'm gonna help Linda. She's gonna try to reboot again. So for the computer, the important claim deadline, again, as we talked about, is submitting your claims by March 31st for expenses that you incurred in the previous plan year. So using 2024 as an example, any of your parking and commuter expenses that you incurred from January 1 through December 31, all receipts must be date stamp received at ASI before the March 31st deadline, or those are no longer claimable expenses. If you term either accounts, you have that 6-month window, that 180 days to submit claims, or any balances left in those accounts will be forfeited. For the universities for dependent care healthcare, it's really important that you check with your payroll department and confirm how many paychecks that you are. There are members that are on a 9-month or 10-month pay schedule because of the summer hours. And so you want to make sure that you're entering those correctly. Some people think that under universities that they're 9 months, and we do try to audit these, and it should be 10 months. And with the universities that are on the shorter payments periods, you still have full access to your funds from January 1 through December 31. So even though you may not contribute, let's say as an example, in June or July, you still have access to those funds during those months that you are not contributing. You just have to take that into account when you are calculating your expenses and how much you want to contribute. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Sarah, please. So for the ASI corrections before January 1 of 2025, you must request a change to your FSA prior to December 13th of 2024. All updates will become effective still for January 1 of 2025. If you do not enroll during the month of October, you are not able to sign up for an FSA unless you have a qualifying status change that allows a change mid-year. And again, we do request that you include supporting documentation. So again, it's really important that if you do want a dependent care FSA and a healthcare FSA for 2025, you must complete your open enrollment to enroll in those accounts up through October 31, which is the deadline for open enrollment. Make sure that you understand the choices, the amounts, and penalties if you fail to make those changes prior to the January 21st. So it's important to make sure that you understand those and that you go in and enroll. And if you, let's say, make sure that you are enrolling in the right account. We will be sending out color-coded letters so that if you enrolled in independent care and you do not have children under age 13, that you can go in prior to that grace period and request to cancel that and enroll in the correct account. Okay, Sarah, go ahead. As of January 21st, all ASI Flex issues go to PEBB as an appeal. No healthcare dependent care, FSA cancellations or changes will be made unless you do experience a qualifying status change. No retro FSA corrections or enrollments. Oh, January 1st, I'm so sorry. Thank you. For January 1st, no retro FSA corrections or enrollments will be made. Members could lose your money. No mid-year enrollments or prospective increase or decreases without a QSC. PEBB will adjust the number of months prospectively if you are enrolled in a mid-year change with a qualifying status change. So basically what that means is if you enroll mid-year, we will look at the months that are left, and then you would adjust how much you want to contribute based on the total months that you're looking at. So if you're enrolling in February for a March 1 effective date, you would still have access to the full amount. You just have to adjust it and adjust how much you're contributing each month. Okay, Sarah. ASI corrections. After open enrollment, PEBB will send out letters and emails to verify that you are enrolled in the correct ASI Flex enrollments. You'll receive one UPS mailing and one email for each ASI Flex benefit enrollment for your healthcare, dependent care, commuter, parking, and transportation accounts. These accounts will all be on 4 different colored types of papers so that they'll call attention to it. Healthcare FSA will receive a blue letter on blue paper. Dependent care FSA will receive your enrollments on pink paper. Parking, commuter parking will be on orange paper, and transportation, commuter transportation will be on green. So it's really important when you enroll and you get these letters, please don't disregard them. Please make sure you enroll in them and you look at them and make sure that you are enrolled in the correct account. We have a lot of members that mistake dependent care as a healthcare FSA that they can use for those dependents. They misunderstand that that is for only child care under age 13. So you definitely don't want to take a chance and enroll in the wrong account and potentially forfeit funds. So please read those letters, read the emails, because they give you your time frames and allow you to make the adjustments if you are enrolled in the wrong account or for the wrong amount. You know, let's say you only wanted to do $20 a month, but you ended up hitting it for $200 a month. So this is the time to make those changes. The purpose for sending out the letters and the email is to confirm that you are enrolled in the right account during the open enrollment and that it is correct. It'll explain how the account works, what's covered, and what's not allowed. Confirm your monthly contribution amount. Confirm the total number of months that you plan to contribute, and this is for university members because they do have different pay schedules for 9, 10, a few 11-month or 12-month pay schedules. Again, confirm with your university if you are not sure. Check with your benefits office. It also explains the rules for making corrections. It provides the correction deadlines and the penalties if you don't make those corrections as needed. So it's really important. Please read the letters. If you have questions, please ask PEBB. If you have any questions, ASI customer service is a great resource. You can contact them directly. They can help you set up your ASI account, explain the debit card. They can also help you set up your mobile account. So you have 2 accesses. One is your mobile account, which is through your phone, and also through your portal through ASI. These are both great ways to upload claims and expenses, and also use ASI if you do dependent care. They have ways that they can help set up auto pays so that they will give you the requirements, what you need to submit to them, so that when your funds get deposited in that account, it will just automatically transfer over into the account that you've provided them. And then of course, PEBB member services were available Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. You can either call us, send us an email, go to our website, and to enroll during the month of October, you want to go to your www.pebbenefits.com PEBenroll.com to do your online benefits enrollments. And all forms are found off of our main web page under forms.
And that is our last slide, Tammy.
Okay.
So yeah, if there's any questions that we've gotten that maybe apply to the broader audience, if we could bring those to the light, or any last comments.
It's Linda. I'm back, but I didn't
Oh,
want
thank you.
I didn't want to interrupt you, Tammy, because you
I'm
were doing
sorry.
awesome. Didn't know if I would my internet connection would conk out on me again.
Yes,
I
please.
think you did awesome. I think just a lot of people, asking, is this approved? Is that approved? Make sure that you go to the ASI Flex website and look on their list of things that are approved. You can go to the IRS and look at things that are approved or not approved. That's always really helpful because you know what your current prescriptions are and your current expenses. So, make sure that those things are approved before you start to invest in a healthcare FSA.
One of the other questions, Linda, I'm seeing is on the debit cards. So ASI will issue a debit card, and it's just like any credit card that you would normally get. It does have an expiration date on it. So if you are a member that consistently enrolls in a healthcare FSA, so in other words, every year I go in and I enroll in an FSA, those debit cards will continue so long as you're enrolled. If you fail to enroll, of course, they will term 12/31 of 2024 for this current plan year. But if you enroll for 2025, the funds will be loaded to the ASI debit card for the new plan year effective January 1. Now, they do have an expiration date just like any other debit card. So if you are a member that consistently enrolls in every year and you look down and say, oh, my debit card is going to expire this year, then you would contact ASI, work with them directly, and they will then reissue a new debit card.
We have another question, Tammy. Somebody's asking, what if we go beyond the 30 days of letting you know about a change in child care because we were trying to make things work within the family. Unfortunately, this isn't a PEBB rule. This is an IRS guideline that we have to follow. You have 30 days to let us know about a change to your child care. If you go beyond that 30 days, chances are we're not going to be able to adjust that dependent care FSA for you at all. So make sure that you are very timely with cost changes with your dependent care.
Yes, correct. It's really important to make sure you meet that 30-day window. And the debit cards are only for, one question was asking if the debit cards would work for the commuter accounts, and they are only for the healthcare flexible spending.
We've got another question. Some of the daycares are like preschool environments. If your child is basically not eligible to attend kindergarten and first and second grade, and you have them in a daycare that might be a preschool, those costs are usually covered. But if you want to pay like school tuition to put them in a private school, that's where those costs would not be covered. I said that correctly, didn't I, Tammy?
That is correct, yes. We've also had a couple questions, Linda, in regards to losing money. If you're worried that you've over exceeded the amount that you have claimable expenses, you do have the grace period to incur additional expenses up through March 15th for this current year would be March 15th of 2024. Again, all receipts must be date stamped if received at ASI by March 31st. So you would have to look at, do I need glasses? Do I need over-the-counter items. You can go to ASI's website. There's a lot of over-the-counter web items that you can purchase to submit, and if you have some remaining funds and you don't want to forfeit those, go to ASI's website. It's a great resource for navigating and to go to the debit store. They have an FSA store that you can go to, and it will give you all sorts of over-the-counter items at the FSA store that you can also purchase through there to use up those remaining funds. And there's also eligibility lists. So navigate ASI's website. It's a great resource if you are trying to struggle over how to use up those monies, because again, once you enroll, they are non-refundable.
Well, I think I don't see any other major questions rolling in right now.
Okay, well, if we don't have any other questions, we can go ahead and wrap up. We are at time, and this will be posted on the website in the next day or so with closed caption video for on-demand watching. And Linda, if you don't have anything else to say, we'll go ahead and wrap it up.
I think that's it. Thank you, everybody. Sorry for the connection difficulties that I had, and thank you, Tammy, for taking over.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.